Hey everybody, Matt here, Hollywood's Garage. On today's episode, we're working on the 73 Pontiac Ventura LS swap. So, a previous video on this car, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. I go through the full detail of unboxing the on3 Performance single turbo kit for a LS swapped Camaro, first gen Camaro. But if you know, the X bodies in the first gen Camaro shared the same core support back to the firewall, floor kind of, and then the subframe obviously they share, even the firewall, if I haven't said that already. So I ordered the kit. It was a year to get. It was back ordered. They wanted to get enough orders in before they can get them all made up again, because this kit was probably made about 4 or 5 years ago when they first designed it, so obviously sold out and had some more interest. Regardless, knowing I bought this kit, I knew the hot side was going to fit, as long as the mounts used on the engine and whatnot were pretty close to what they used on the original car. Original car used the factory engine mounts and the dingo slider, the dirty dingo slider engine mounts to get the car in, which always hits the engine low, or pretty low compared to a lot of mounts that you can buy. And then I have a 4L80E, but I used all of the, I think it's hooker header engine mounts and transmission mounts, which is the engine pretty low and whatnot. So that's no worry there. I knew the hot side was going to fit. The cold side, I knew there would be some fabbing. And just because the front of the car, which I'm finding out and I'll show you, from the rat support is different than to the front of the car, the nose. But let's go through this kit where I'm at so far. It's not done. I did start up the engine, which is actually a junkyard LS 6-liter. I pulled out of a truck. There's an episode of that too on my channel showing that and tearing it apart and putting my cam and heads from my old engine on it and whatnot. So check out that video too. So $600 engine, mileage, I think he said 190-ish, 190,000 kilometers. I mean, take that with a grain of salt. The truck was half torn apart, so I couldn't check. Electrical was all torn out of it. So, but tore the engine apart from what I could see. The main bearings look good and all that looked good. So, and there wasn't really any cross hatching, so 190,000 seems kind of realistic, which works out for boost, because the rings kind of self-clearance themselves in a way for a certain amount of boost. I don't plan on running more than 10 pounds boost. I'm going to be only running 7, which is wastegate spring pressure to begin with, because I'm running, my fuel system is only 55-pound injectors with a 370 liter per hour fuel pump. What it says is good up to 750 horse, same with the injectors, but that's NA. Once you go boosted, you're more like 650, which is probably where I'm going to be at with this setup. So let's get over what I have here. We'll start with the turbo and work our way in. It's an on3 Performance journal bearing turbo. It would be a 7875. What do they call the mounts again? The T4, I think is what it is. T4 mount. So we'll go with the hot side here, exhaust. So they went 3-inch to 3.5 down to a V-band down there. You can see my point of my finger. And they included the exhaust piece that goes like this. You can see it there. And then it goes under, I can show you. And it goes to a dual 3-inch. So the problem I'm running into is obviously that driver crossover. It has to be moved back about 4 inches to be on the back side of my transmission cross member. So I ordered up a muffler to kind of go in that area where you see the red lines there. Just like a 6-inch bullet muffler. Plus it helped quiet just a little bit the raspy. And later on I'll put turn downs and whatnot on the exhaust. But that's not a big deal right now. So the manifolds, you can kind of see down there. They bolted on, no problem. Clearance is pretty tight, as you can see, like a finger's width to the control arm. So when they built this kit, they built it for the factory A-arms, which aren't as wide. Like they're not as wide. They're gonna be more narrow, being stamped steel. So as you can tell, the turbo just misses that bolt for it. And then the driver's side bolted up, no problem, lots of space. I did have to dent the backside of the crossover, like I don't know, 1/4 inch to fit around that bolt on the upper A-arm. So if you're running tubulars, keep an eye on that. And then the crossover doesn't fit the best. I know they have a flex joint to try to help with wiggle room, but as it is, this isn't sealed properly on this side all the way. I'm hoping if I get the exhaust hot enough, I can come back in here and tighten up this clamp, and maybe tighten up the other 1/4 inch or so of, I don't know, we'll figure that out. But I got this one snugged up good. It was a battle. It was like an hour or 2 hours of just tightening this one, then this one, then this one, and I figured it out. The kit also didn't come with these V-band clamps. So they had to ship these separately because they forgot to include them on the original packaging. So go through your boxing, and they give you, I think, 10 days of delivery. If you're missing anything, to let them know and they'll send it out. Sent it out, no problem. I got it within like 4 or 5 days, business days. So yeah, that's the hot side. You can see the blow-off valve here, or I should say blow-off valve, wastegate mount, and then they have it so it comes down and it goes down to underneath the car. I'll show you here. There it is there. I'll probably end up cutting that tube about 2 inches shorter. This does hang about 1 inch below the oil pan, so just keep that in mind. And also, you can't run taller valve covers due to the fact that they have this mounted up. You may be able to if you turn this mount. You might be able to get away with it. But I'm just running 2 factory side. I'm going to vent off of each side there to my catch can. So I have venting. And let's do the cold side, the troublesome side. Well, before that, let's talk about the turbo again. It came with a feed line, plenty long enough to go underneath the car and down to the side. It didn't come with the plate that you would use to get oil above. I don't know if you can see it. You kind of see it down there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Down there above the oil filter there. I had to buy that plate off of Amazon. No big deal. But it did come with the fittings. And then the drain. She's a tight fit, real tight fit. You can see it there. Not the best in my opinion. They should have put a longer nipple on it to get that rubber hose away from the hot exhaust. But that is what it is. And I'll show you what I did there. You can see she's pretty tight fitting that tube. You want to keep your drain, you know, angled down more than just sideways. But I was able to pipe it into the 302-3 Holly pan there. So, of course, it didn't come with the fitting for that. I had to buy that. It is what it is. I did have to drill and tap the housing to have the wastegate pressure off of. It's always good to have it directly off the housing if possible. So I did that. Again, not a big deal, just something to think about. Now the cold side. So this all came on fine. This is a 102mm throttle body, so this rubber does just slide over. You gotta wiggle it. It does work. Your blow-off valves there, you know, it just fits, super simple. Rubber hose goes to my distribution block there. What you'll have feed in from the bottom of the manifold, and then to the wastegate or to the blow-off valve, and then to the fuel regulator. The kit comes with 2 of these kind of different design tubes. I think the car they built it off of, it might have been the same, but I can't remember. The photos I think showed it being an LS Retro and having a both inlet and outlet on the same side. But I just used the rubber hose that I had on before. Fits no problem. It's you know, lots of clearance to the hot stuff, close to the cold, but who really cares about that? This fit perfectly. Like this isn't, I can move this still because I'll show you why. But so I had to cut my hose up that I had and use it because that's what I use my off of the bypass, I guess. That's where it feeds into, and that fit in no problem. So yeah, cold side down, connection right kind of there by the subframe. And then you can see it swings underneath and comes right there, so it goes below. This is, I have the bumper just mocked up, and I'll show you why. So it comes with this, it's a nice intercooler. I had to remove, there's a support bracket that comes from right bottom here down. I had to remove that, but she's still pretty solid. Like it's not going anywhere. So don't worry about that. But problem I'm finding is they have these welded on the angle forward. So on a Camaro, there must be more room between the rad support and the front bumper. Because look at it, as it is, like my bumper's gonna hit. And like even if I can't use all the fittings or all the silicone pieces they sent were just straight pieces, not like 45s or 90s. So I was gonna have to put a 90 on that and cut, but I don't want to cut my bumper up down there. This side, like, it fit the closest for sure, but it still wasn't at the good angle to use a straight coupling, so I would have to cut this tube, and like I can get away with this, but look how much it squeezes that 90. It's like almost half, and the bumper's not even like it, you know, it's not fully sitting properly. If they would have made these straight out or down or something, not forward, it would have fit. So I had to order a different intercooler for that. I had to order 2 because Amazon. The first one's like didn't show up, so like, oh, check back in a week. Well, I don't have a week. I want to get this car on the road for a car meet coming up, like they call it tuner bash, and you know, to go there and I want to have to race the car and show the car, so I'd order another one, and it'll have the straight outside mounts, so I'll make that work. So just keep that in mind. Super nice intercooler, just not going to work on a first gen, or sorry, on an X body, unless you want to cut up your bumpers or maybe drop it low enough to where you're below the bumper, but like, you know, you don't want to show too much. As it is, you're going to see that the piping, and I don't know. I like to kind of keep a sleeper look. What else? I was able to change spark plugs with this on, just like this. So this side you can do it from the top. You know, it's tight, but I mean, they're better than headers on most engines. So didn't have these special sockets, just a normal socket. The driver's side, you can remove them from the top, I found, but I didn't want to cross thread or even chance it. So from underneath the car, lots of space to go underneath and start them and even thread them in, and then obviously tighten. You can see this got a zip tie on every one, keeping my wires away. Should have no worries there, unless this header gets super hot or something, but we should have no worries. Same with the other side, I zip tie each one away from like a heat source. So just something to keep in mind. Obviously this is all the wiring and stuff. It's a mess. The Phytech wiring harness is just, it's built weird. It's not built properly in my opinion. So you got to do what you got to do. But most turbo cars, these new cars coming out that are all turboed, you look under the engine bay and it's just like the Broncos and stuff. Cable, like it's just wires everywhere, hoses everywhere. It looks horrible. So this looks better still in my opinion. Other than that, it did come with a boost controller, like a manual one for future wise. I shouldn't say, I'm keep pointing at this, but it'll actually go into this. Right now I'm just gonna run 7 pounds because I already spoke about that, about the fuel system not being up to par. That's a next year thing. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it for the LS going turbo with the on3 performance kit. The only 2 issues I said, intercooler, but I know the cold side was gonna be some fabbing. I just knew that, but I'm just like this crossover. It's just, man, like getting those V bands on, it's tricky, and maybe just what I'll end up doing is cutting out that expansion piece and actually just welding in pipe. Like, you know, make sure these are bolted in nice and tight and weld in a pipe, and should be fine. I don't know. A lot of guys do it, and obviously watch out for your tubular A-arms for spacing. If you're running factory stamps, you'll be fine. They do give a provision to put a back pressure sensor down there. I wouldn't put an O2. I wouldn't put an O2 sensor in your pressure side because it will burn out quicker. It'll work for so long, but then it won't. But they give you permission right there on the downpipe. And I know they had to go a certain amount of inches away, but it would have been nice if they just would have brought it like another inch up, or even like have it that way. But my fuel line's pretty close there, but it should be okay. That's my return. Bolting this flange on was a shit show. I was able to get 3 of their bolts in for hardware. As you could tell, I had to take like the housing and spin it and blah blah blah. It came with 2 different gaskets, the steel one that I put in it, and it also came with like your, I guess it came with this kit here, you can't really see it, but more of like your, not steel, it's a composite, maybe down there you'll see it. Where I dip my finger. Like a paper one almost, so I put the steel one in. The back bolt though, like, I had all this off even, and like I'd use a different bolt that was skinnier, and oh man, it was not fun. So I threw a couple heat cycles. I'm gonna have to go back into here and tighten everything back up. I'm gonna be swearing, I'm sure, but it's the joys of turbo, I guess. A lot of guys are saying just go V-band style, which, sure, but I got to buy a different housing. And at that point, like, I'm running a Chinese turbo. It's not even a ball bearing turbo, it's a journal bearing. So that is what it is. So that's up to speed on the car. Once I get more parts, like the intercooler, I'll show you how I mount that up. And when I freaking Amazon again, they're great because you can order a bunch of shit, return what you don't need, no big deal. But like I said, I ordered a -10 kit AN line for my breathers, and they sent me a -6. Not even, it's like the half the size. How do they mess that up? So they can send another one. Of course, not coming till Wednesday. I gotta get the car on the road by Friday. Excuse me, and I still have to like test drive it. I tuned it with what I think it could work. And I don't know if you know much about the Tech, but their timing map is like 3/4 the size of like a Holly one. It doesn't have all your different KPAs in it and stuff, so you gotta roll with it, I guess, right? Try your best. I wanted to do a bumper tuck too on this, like slide it back and get rid of the filler panel, which is on the hood there. But I don't know if I'm gonna have room even with the straight out intercooler. So anyway, that could be a future issue. Yeah, that's where we're at. We'll put you back on here once I get more parts. Got the new intercooler finally. The second one that I ordered since the first one never showed up. Thank you, Amazon, for that. But ended up using the mounts that came with that intercooler. Take my boot off still. And notched them. Made them shorter. And you can see a comparison. That one's another 1/2 inch thicker. And to give you more, honestly, it's a little obviously more surface area, but this fits way better. The fins are a super soft fin, so you gotta be super careful when mounting it. Try to grab it on the outsides, but I'll gonna show you how it looks mocked up there. After some death wheel action, this is where we're at. Not the prettiest brackets, but it'll work. Had to cut quite a bit off to notch this over here. This one I didn't have to cut. Believe it or not, this is not the center of the car. Or, you know what? It doesn't. Yeah, this is the center of the car, but I didn't realize that they added length to this here. So, which will be the latch for the second release, right? So we're not perfectly center. As you can see, you can still see some rad, but well, the rad's pretty much the end of there. So we're about 2 inches to the passenger side. But I don't really have much room left if I want to use these style brackets here. I did buy a piece of flat stock that I could go off the top, I guess, and try to, I don't know. But, you know, honestly, this is probably the best it's going to get. So from underneath here, this bumper's just mocked up. It's still got to be tilted up, but it's general, right? So let's get down here. Oh, my knees get too old for this. You can see the bottom of it there. It's above the cross member. I can even mount those bottom bungs there. Just with a piece of flat stock, which I have. I'll cut them, drill into the bottom of the rad support. If I have room, we'll see if that rad is in the way. I may not. We'll see how flimsy this thing is, but we'll see. I'll probably have to mount it down there. But it's going to get, you know, not the most airflow. This will be flat, right? And this will actually have a cover right here, where I'll tuck the bumper back, but it'll get the bottom here. And then obviously this is a plate holder, so that's solid. But you'll have 2 sides here to get air. It's not the most ideal. Maybe a guy will put like a Camaro air dam or something that goes off the bottom or something, and it'll force air up. We'll see what we can do. But this fits the best. You can see my connection down there is a 90, which I have and I bought, so that'll be an easy mock-up. This one, I haven't really messed around, but kind of where it sits is where it's at. So I did buy a bead roller for like if I want to cut this and shorten it. I have a way to make a bead on it. But this, I might be able to get away with a 45. I may have one. I don't know. I bought a bunch of silicone tubes, but it's going to be 3 inch to 2.5, I think, is what that is. It's funny. They went 2.5 in and then 3 inch out. So that's where we're at there. Well, yeah, see, I can't even turn it because it'll hit, if I turn that pipe, it'll hit that cross member. So kind of where it's at is where it's at. So I might just cut this tube down here and then go 90. But we'll see. And if I do that, it'll push this back further it'll push this back like towards the front of the car, I guess the back of the car, so I can push the bumper back if I do a bumper tuck on these big old 73, 74s. Overall, pretty happy with this intercooler setup. Once I get those mounted, I gotta drill holes. There's enough space behind the rad here. There's like a 2-inch, 3-inch gap. Well, as thick as that. So I'll have no problem drilling through that and not hitting the rad. And it's too bad it didn't line up at that hole. It'll be hard to drill though without taking the grill off. And I've never taken the grill off, so I don't know how that is done. I guess there's a bolt right there. And yeah, probably one on the bottom, or I don't really want to take it off if I don't have to. But it would be super easy if I did. Anywho's, that's where we're at. I'll bring you back once she's mounted up top here. We'll see how flimsy it's going to be. I feel like it's going to be. We're going to have to put some mounts on the bottom of it too. But I do have this piece of flat stock, like I said, right here. So I ended up self-tapping. I mean, just shoot a self-tapper in here, and then on top here. Yes, these brackets should be painted. Obviously I will. Just I want to get this thing on the road and make sure there's not bigger problems to worry about than just painted brackets. So she's nice and sturdy up top. I came down here, found 2 more bolts. This intercooler didn't come with no hardware, no brackets or nothing. So if you're gonna buy it, use get some flat stock and then some self-tappers and some bolts. I lucked out and had those 2 top bolts from the old intercooler that came with the kit, and I found these 2 in my bolt bin. A little long, so I had these some washers, but there it is. That thing is going nowhere. It's above the cross member, so it's going to be nice and safe. It's fairly square. Again, not perfectly center, but she's pretty close. So we're just going to now, my best bet is I'll probably end up using a 90 here, and then you know, cut it to fit like the rubber boot. And then over here I have the tube out, but it'll be pretty much the same. I'll just have to cut the boot to shorten. So these kits, if you're gonna have it on an X body car, you can use all their cold side piping and stuff. You just have to get a shorter, different intercooler and buy new boots. The only boots they come with are gonna be straight boots, and they're like that long. This side would have been from a 3-inch to a 2-inch or a 2.5, and this was 3 to 3, as you can see. So just keep that in mind. Let me just see if I can find some boots. We'll get this cold side finished up here, and the next will be getting the bumper mounted and see if I can tuck it at the same time, slide it back. But let's see where we're at. And to straighten these out, like I said, they're pretty soft. You can probably get yourself a flathead screwdriver and just take time doing it, but honestly, turned out pretty good. As you can see, we got the I guess the out of the intercooler all piped in. Fits nice and good, nice and perfect. Down there, comes up. I might try to space it down so we get more of a gap between there, but not a big deal. Let me just turn this light on here. So this side I ended up messing up and cutting too much of the boot off here, a little too short. I actually cut some of the metal off too. I don't know, probably like 4 inches of it. It curved up, and it curved up forward the wrong way. So got a new boot coming. It's a swedge from a 3 to 2.5. Does it through the 90, which is what I need. So that's where we're rating at. I cut it about that much too short. Oh well. Lesson learned. So now we're working on the catch can. Kind of started here. This is just a rubber line, steel corded obviously, but deciding on what I want to do here. I got obviously one vent there, the one in the back. I don't have an AN fitting on it yet, but I got to be careful of the downpipe. It's going to be hot, so I'm going to think something like this maybe. But the problem I'm going to run into is I got to keep that off that downpipe on that loop. I could try going maybe like through the front here and around. That might work to like this point, like this. You know, turn it this way and come this way. I'll have to get my both hands out to see if I can do that. Probably won't be able to work it unless I put a 90 there. I only have two 90s. Obviously one will be here and one will be over there, so we're at where we're at. Probably gonna be stuck going something like this. And then figuring out how to keep it off. Yeah, we'll see where we're at here. I'll bring you back when I figure out what I'm gonna do here. Just an evil energy catch can, obviously. Just vent the atmosphere. I do have it close to the filter, so whatever fumes do come out, maybe get sucked in. I don't know. Will it help? I guess we'll find out. All the boostesses will fix that. So I got 45s going around, curling around. One going to here, and then I had to zip tie it to this so that way it doesn't loosen the adapter here. And it also keeps it pretty good distance there. The other one comes around. This kind of sucked. This is too low, so I can't get that. I can't get the fitting underneath. It's too tall. But this is what we're stuck with. Nice part is, I guess, is it's out of the way. It's high. It kind of looks kind of neat. It's kind of to the back. It would have been nice if I can actually get it right to the back, but it is what it is. So now we're all officially buttoned up, except for this intercooler boot, which, like I said, cut too short. I messed up. Another one coming. I had to cut the top of the tube off about 1 inch, and the bottom of it like 4 inches. I do have a bead roller here. I have not used it on the pipe yet. I'm only running 7 pounds, so it should be fine. We're just tight clamps for now. I do have a 7 pound spring. Comes with a 5, so if I ever want to, I can go to 12. Or I do have a manual boost gauge, jump it up to like 10. But I mean, 10 pounds of boost. Shouldn't have to worry about having a clamp around that. What else? I ended up moving this down. We got a good gap there now. Lots of space there. Little close to the exhaust, but not much you can do about it. It is what it is. And now we have a little blankie for the turb ski. So I'm going to try to manhandle this sucker on. It's a titanium one, just an Amazon special. It's like 40 bucks, but it'll help keeping heat down in the engine bay, I'm sure. So they sell it as such. But let me get 2 hands on this. We'll try to get these springs on here, as I swear about doing it. And then I'll bring you back up, and then we're going to fire the trick car up. Go through the process of just starting it. Obviously, without that connected, we're not going to have any boost, but let's get this engine heated up, see if our coolant get burped. Overflow is half full, so I have this completely full. We'll get her up to temp. I already have it tuned. Did a laptop work already to a safe tune. I got a jerry can of 93 put in it today, 20 liters. So really, all that's left, like I said, we'll finish this off and we'll bring you back. So it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it was still pretty fun to get that spring underneath. I think the back one is actually longer, but it's a little big. It is a T4 one. It's an Amazon special, so you get what you get. But there we go, it's on there. So let's go turn the battery on, fire this pig up, and let's see how she runs. So the reason why we were at 192, 194 wasn't because of the air bubble. We got that out. It was because that's where my fan's set. So if we do a test here on the top, on the rubber, we're at 41. Well, I guess I moved it on you. 64. Down on the rubber down there. 40. Makes, well, the bottom should be hotter, right? 37. That's about, that's 30, yeah, there we go. I had it in the wrong spot. So yeah, it's just the fan was on. That's the temp I had it set as 192. I might lower it down to like 187 or something. But yeah, so far so good. Everything's just heat soaking now. Might have to figure out what to do there. That blanket might melt that. Because before I didn't have the blanket on when I tighten this up. So maybe I'll move it up. It'll bring it away. I might have to get a longer one. But this is why we test things, right? If only I didn't cut that boot too short. Could take it for a rip. But we got another one coming tomorrow, so. Yeah, so far success. Super excited to get her on the road. But it's good that we heat cycled it, so now I'm gonna let it cool off and come back and tighten all the header bolts. The V-bands on the exhaust, give them a little tighten. And if I can get to the bolts on the turbo, great. If not, well, it is what it is. But guys, I'll end that video here. Thanks for watching. My next video is going to be testing and tuning this car. Hopefully tomorrow, but I think it's supposed to rain up until Saturday, which is a car show. So maybe next time you see me, you'll be at the car show if this is if it's still raining out there. I don't want to drive this in the rain. But thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, comments, or hints for me, or tips, let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you on the next one.